right. Welcome to PDX Black Rose Podcast, the podcast that celebrates the vibrant stories and entrepreneurial journeys of Black and other small businesses in Portland. I am Jurell Scott, doing digital marketing for the Seoul District Business Association. And to my right, I have the host, Mr. Alexander Gebreab, the small business navigator coach for the Seoul District Business Association. And to my left, I have Mr. Emmanuel Williams. Before we hear about Emmanuel Williams and before we begin our conversation with him, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
Tired of high gas prices? Save money on your transportation costs with TriMet's reduced fare transit card. If you meet income requirements, you can get your first month free while you enjoy unlimited rides on buses and trains anywhere TriMet goes. That's 1 month free, a $28 value when you sign up today for TriMet's reduced fare card. We'll help you travel smarter and make your money go further no matter what the price is at the pump. Visit TriMet.org/save to learn more and apply today. That's TriMet.org/save. TriMet. How life moves.
Today we have Emmanuel Williams, Community Justice and Equity Manager at the Black United Fund of Oregon. With the Black United Fund, aka BUF, he is leading the Emerging Entrepreneurial Program, a dynamic business accelerator dedicated to supporting BIPOC entrepreneurs. Beyond this role, Emmanuel is the visionary founder and CEO of YPD Equity Consulting, where he delivers impactful conflict management and racial equity workshops to diverse organizations seeking transformative change. That is really impressive.
That's what's up. Did I send you
Welcome.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great bio. I didn't realize I sent that to you.
It's a good intro. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all for having me.
So we'll have a good time today. We won't have any no crazy questions, but we want to make sure we get a lot of info out to our community. I think you guys are doing a lot of great work there, especially with what you got going on. But before we get into the questions part, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your ties to Portland, and then how you ended up at Black United Fund and what Black United Fund does, and a little bit about what YPD Equity Consulting does, and then we'll jump into the questions afterwards.
For sure. All right. So once again, Emmanuel Williams, born and raised here in Portland, Oregon. Grew up off 15th and going 4712 Northeast 15th Avenue to be exact. So grew up off of 15th and going right off Alberta, the heart of Northeast Portland. Went to high school at Benson. We were fellow Benson Techman over here.
Yes, sir.
I got a couple cousins. I was a knight.
Affiliated.
De La Salle.
De La Salle.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's not a rival. So we
that was a newer school, right?
It was.
I think it was founded in like 2007 or something like that.
Oh yeah,
we was already
gone by then, man.
Yeah. That's what's up. So, but yeah, man, graduated from Benson before that, and then went to Texas Southern University at HBCU in Houston, Texas. So I got that Black utopia experience after leaving the whitest city in America, as y'all know. Came back. I still, it's mind-boggling why I came back and stayed after having that experience, but it happened. But been here and just been, I have a family, have a wife, 3 children, and we're here, right? And so I was in corporate America for 10 plus years in corporate sales, doing some soul-crushing work, man. Just like was making money, but didn't even know I wasn't making any impact.
Yeah.
And as me and my wife began to add children to our family, it got me thinking about why I was doing what I was doing. And once again, I wasn't making an impact, so I wasn't proud of what I was doing. Like, my kids would come, I would like get awarded for top sales, whatever. But I just wasn't proud of them. When they asked me what I did, I was like, I sell insurance.
Trying to explain that to them,
So what does that mean? It's nothing. It's really nothing, Yeah. And so around the time of like 2017, 2018, I was thinking like, all right, I got to do something different. And so I left my job, started podcasting. It was called the Socks and Sandals Podcast. Did that for a while. Started in 2017. Ended it in 2023. But during that time of doing the podcast and talking about things that I was really interested in, I really realized that I was interested in community and how things affect Black people, how history affects Black people, and how history informs how we think, speak, and act in society. And so, long story less long, eventually I got led towards working with the Black United Fund during the Oregon Cares Fund in 2020, right? So that was a time when Kate Brown set aside 4% of the Cares Fund dollars for the Black community. So I worked on that temporary project, and I loved doing that. And so I went to Dr. A, the CEO, and I was like, hey, if you guys have anything that opens up in the future, let me know, because I would love to continue to work with you guys and continue to make an impact on my community. And so they got a grant to fund the department, Community Justice and Equity, which didn't exist before I got there. But they got a grant, and they were like, hey, I know you wanted to work here. We wanted to start this new department. We want to focus on small businesses and helping all of those that weren't able to get help during the Oregon Cares Fund. We want to hire you, and we want you to create programming. Okay. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. And so I was basically brought in to do that, but like with no blueprint. They just had the trust and faith in me to create whatever from the grassroots, from the ground up. And
so you built that whole thing from scratch?
From scratch.
Like you and the team, or was it just you at the start?
I mean, there was we have 6 other employees at Black United Fund, but as far as my department and all the activities that happened, scratch. Wow. It was just networking, existing relationships. Here's a few dollars, here's some time, here's a paycheck, figure it out. Wow. And we'll support you while you figure it out. And it's grown quite a bit in the past 2.5 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes what the community needs, especially if you're grassroots oriented like that. Yeah. But then to create like a whole program around it and create a system and a structure around it is a whole lot different, man. So how did you lean on somebody to mentor you through that, or
not necessarily to mentor me? I will say everyone that I work with, Saida Wright, Melissa Slanitz, Dr. A, they all helped shape and help mold me into who I am now as far as like this type of work in nonprofit, because I had no nonprofit experience whatsoever. Yeah. And so like I didn't even know how to work Excel. like when I got hired, they tested me, or when I was getting interviewed, they tested me on Excel. Yeah. And they were like, here, do this, here's a situation now, fill out this thing. And I went to them and I told them, I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how to do this. Like I know how to make stuff happen, but I'm not an administrative type person. Yeah. And I thought I was gonna get the job after that, but they was like, you know what? We see that you're the right person for the job. Yeah. You can learn. So I had to learn a lot of things. A lot of people helped me learn a lot of things to do the administrative stuff. But long story less long, did someone mentor me through this? No. Okay. But I did lean on certain people. I just leaned on my network, right? And so one of the most influential people that's been a part of this journey and helping me, whether he knew it or not, he knew it, but he didn't maybe know to the extent, but helping me build up the programming into what it is today, is Devon Horace. I don't know if you guys know him or heard of him. No. But Devon Horace of Horace Consulting, and he's also, I believe, he wears a lot of hats, right? And okay. He's an angel investor. He's been an executive for the Blazers. He's now working with the Portland Seed Fund, among other organizations. But him and our relationship goes back to my podcasting days, but like we would do events and we would strategize together, and I would lean on him heavily the first year to not only attract people for the events, but also help conduct like some of the leveled up strategy sessions that we did. Okay. So it all started with me and him meeting up at Holy Beans Coffee Shop, man. Shout out to Shalimar when that was open. Yep. And
I just saw her yesterday too. RIP to her pops.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Rest in peace for sure. So yeah, man. So I would say I leaned heavily on Devon, and we collaborated a lot. And then everyone in the community that has come to many of our events and just showed up. It's just been a lot of organic support.
Okay. Well, so with you leading that Emerging Entrepreneurial Program at Black United Fund, can you describe what some of the initiatives involved and what unique challenges and opportunities BIPOC or Black entrepreneurs face in Portland currently?
Yeah, so essentially, Emerging Entrepreneurial Program, it's a 9-month business accelerator where if at first it just started out with one entrepreneur, right? And that was shout out to Nicole Rose of Eladine LLC, right?
Yep.
So
it's one of our clients too.
straight up.
Yeah.
So it started off with her, but basically it's a program where we have these board of advisors. So we started out with 4, now we have 5, but we have subject matter experts, entrepreneurs from different disciplines. And so the idea is to not only give the entrepreneur an infusion of capital, because they get $8,000 of a business grant, for being selected in the program, but also getting the information, right? Getting the mentorship and getting well-rounded mentorship and from people that have been doing it for an extended period of time. So like anyone that I selected, you have to have been in business for 5 years at least.
Okay.
Right? And so, because that shows that you survived and you've kind of thrived and either you've been in business for 5 years or you've scaled, so you have like at least 2 or 3 employees. So that shows that you're growing and you're thriving, right? And so the board of advisors consists of Ben Harris, tax specialist with Numberman LLC. Okay. Fayana Johnson from Anchor Within Counseling, has her own counseling firm, specializes in mental health services. We have Wilson Nitunga. Okay. He's a business professor at PCC, but he also
I met him. Yeah.
But he also has his own social media marketing firm, right? So there's Wilson, and then there's Devon Horace, right? And so he does like I said, he does all the things. Okay. Angel investor, just has an MBA, business strategist, and then we're able to bring in Ernest Stevens, and he has a company called Morant McLeod. Okay. So they're like a really big business strategist firm, right? And so they consult, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, right? And we've been able to bring them in. So we have our entrepreneurs meet up with the advisors for a set number of hours. Okay. Meet with me bi-weekly. So they get all the information, they get the tutoring, and the whole goal is to create a 5-year business plan, and to create a pitch deck and take all the information that they're learning, put it in the pitch deck, and be able to take that and earn, go out and find other investors or just use it just for yourself. But just learn as much as you can in 9 months to be able to go from side hustle to main hustle, because most people are side hustling, and we want to make sure that you can go, that this is your full-time business, your main hustle, and you can grow and hire employees and continue to expand.
So do they get that grant at the end of the 9-month program, or is it at the beginning?
So it's 3 stages. Okay. So it's like stage 1, you meet with X number of advisors, and then they have you do whatever homework that they ask of you, and then you do that. Boom. Okay. 2,000. And then stage 2, meet with X, Y, and Z, 2,000. And then stage 3 is finish your final pitch deck, do all the work that needs to go into that pitch deck, and then once the final pitch deck is delivered, then 4,000. So it's 3 stages.
Okay. So when you're receiving the funding as you go along, is it for something specific that you guys determine, or is it based on whatever plan they're setting up for their business or whatever strategy they have?
It's a trust-based philanthropy model. So it's really we really trust them to use it wisely. Okay. But we go through a very rigorous process as far as like our application. So this year we had, I want to say, 60 applicants.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And 5 were selected. Okay. And so there's a pretty good application process that we go through, score the applications, and then the top, I think we interviewed 7. The top 7 people get interviewed, and then from that we narrowed it down. It was supposed to be 4, but there were just so many amazing applicants. I was like, we have to get 5.
So do people apply throughout the year?
No, it's an application period. So typically the period is from like August through mid-September. I might extend it a little bit, maybe 60 days instead of 45 days, but there is an application period at the end of the summer. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you, so when we first started, you first brought up like you did insurance, and you were kind of just like, oh, it's whatever. But now I'm hearing you talk about doing this work with the Black United Fund, and I feel like you could talk for days about that, you know? So I wanted to know, like, what is the fulfillment that you're getting from the work you're doing now?
It's night and day. It's just like I'm doing something for my people, with my people, right? And it's no better feeling. you know, because I've been on the other side of that where I've done everything for me. And so I went from no fulfillment, I go home and I'm not proud of what I did, to now every day I'm proud. Like every day is a win in so many different ways. So so what I learned before I came here is like, and people say, oh, money isn't everything. It's like, how do you make it? And what's the impact that you're making while you're making a living? And being able to have both of those things, like I'm making a living, but I'm also making an impact. It's really hard to describe, but it's very fulfilling though.
And now you get to do it down the street from where you were raised, right?
Yeah.
Because Black United Fund was that on 7th in Alberta, or
what? Well, it's on 28th now.
Okay, 28th.
I think. It used to be like on Killingsworth, if I'm not mistaken, like the old building, and then they moved to the 28th back in maybe 99 or early 2000s or something like that.
I was a recipient. They had like a scholarship program.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day. I think
we still have it.
So I was one of those recipients. So that's how I became familiar with them. But man, I can definitely like agree with what you're saying. Coming out of the corporate world and trying to do something like this. Yeah. I worked in banking for about 15 years, but a good portion of that was like in LA, where there's a bigger Black population. And if you're an entrepreneur out there, I feel like the network and the people that you can reach out to for resources is much more readily available. You probably witnessed stuff like that in Texas, where there's a bigger Black population. But then in Portland, there are those resources, but if you're not like looking for them or you're getting connected with people, sometimes it can be really hard, And then for entrepreneurs who don't have money, they need those wraparound services. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody has a tax guy, not everybody has a consultant that they can go to. So, being able to network and navigate through that, it can be a little difficult sometimes in Portland.
And it's just like being able to provide things, like you said, that we just don't have.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't have access to information.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized when doing this work, and why I crafted the program the way that I crafted it. Because first year I didn't have a program; it was just doing events and really just taking a pulse of the community, like trying to see what people really need.
Yeah.
And I realized even with the Oregon Cares Fund and all these other programs, it's like money is cool, but money is gonna run out.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what to do with your money and your time in between getting your money, it's gonna leave.
Absolutely.
And so information is the biggest gap.
Yep.
Money is a big gap, but information is a huge gap for us.
Yeah, because if you got that knowledge and you got information, you can always make that money. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up.
But if all you got is money but no knowledge, man, you end up losing that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, when I was in banking, and in that world, everything is, you either fit in a box or you don't. It's black and white, right? So a lot of times our people will come in there, and I was fortunate enough to work at the U.S. Bank on 42nd in Alberta, and I grew up across the street from there. So it's kind of like a similar story to you. Yeah. Insurance and banking is very similar work. You know what I mean?
Large numbers and
all day, man. That's all you're doing. Just looking at numbers all day.
Yep.
But people will come in there, especially our people, and they want to, open up a business bank account or get financing. And there's a lot of things that you have to do before you get to that stage, And when they get to the bank, you don't have time to sit down with them and teach them how to like get the license or write up a business plan or like how to set up your credit so you can apply for financing and those things. You know what I'm saying? Because they just want you to come in there. It's a sales job, like you said. You know what I mean? Yeah. They come in there, get them some lending. If they don't, then you got to send them somewhere else. So. I found myself always sending them to organizations like this, Soul District, Black United Fund, and I started saying, man, that's like the work I should be doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like gearing up people to get them so they can get financing, they can understand how like credit and all that stuff works. You know what I mean? So in much similar fashion to you, this is how I ended up here. You know what I'm saying? And I found more passion doing this type of work than I did when I sat there in a corporate office.
And this the type of job where, like, I used to get up in the morning and dread.
Yeah.
I would dread driving to work and dread walking in the office. And now it's just like, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Like every day I'm knocking stuff off my checklist, and I'm like getting out a month, 2 months in advance, just tackling stuff because it's like I'm so excited to get this work done.
Yeah, and then Portland, we're not a big town, so it's a small community. A lot of times the people that you're helping with, man, the degree of separation is not that far off. You most likely know their family, or you know their families cross paths with their families or something. You know what I mean? So it's super fulfilling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, as someone who's on like the other side, like I have my own business, being able to get support from organizations like the Soul District, Black United Fund, like I've learned so much just like being able to ask like YouTube, like I've asked YouTube probably so many questions just in the time I've been doing things, and it's been extremely helpful. So like when I did go to like Rivermark, I was already prepared because I started here first, and when I do talk to clients and I try to sell my stuff, like I have a better idea of how to go about those things, and it's been extremely helpful. And that's a part of the reason why I work here too, is because I understand the value of it, you know, knowing I've received it and seeing how it supported other people. So it's nice to be able to use the tools that I've learned to like give other people that same support. So 100%.
So what, besides what you're doing, what are some other things that Black United Fund offers? What are some of the services?
So we have our post-secondary options program, which is, like you said, the scholarships. So scholarships and mentoring for success, but really heavy on the scholarships for those that are going into college. We also have services that we provide for those that want to get into trades, and we connect people with the apprenticeships and whatnot. So yeah, and then we also have community giving and volunteering. So that's more of like working with different organizations to be able to bring money into the organization. But we also have a nonprofit leadership program, which kind of mirrors what we're doing with the Emerging Entrepreneurial Program, where it's an application, and it's going to be our first year, just coming up this year. And they just selected 4 nonprofits to go through a similar program. Yeah.
So do they help? Because I always come across we have a lot of people that want to start their own nonprofit. You know, do you guys help them through the process of becoming a nonprofit, or is it something?
We don't help them through the process of becoming. It's for existing 501c3s.
Okay. All right.
But so that's what it is. It's kind of like for us existing entrepreneurs, folks that are already in it.
Okay.
How can we help fortify your business so that you can, or your nonprofit, so that you can grow?
And so you already have to be designated 501c3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But then we also do like fiscal sponsoring.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. And so those that don't have a 501c3 but they're doing the work of a nonprofit, we can be the fiscal sponsor. We handle all the receipts and the paperwork and administrative stuff and accounting, and the money would come through Buff, but then it goes to the organization, and you can still do your work while you're working on getting a 501c3. So we do that as well. All right. Yeah.
And then so you have your own thing that you're doing, YPD Equity Consulting.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, and how is that something that kind of correlates into the work you're already doing with Black United Fund?
It doesn't necessarily correlate directly, with what I do with Buff, but I've been doing that business since 2019, and that came like out of it was like a evolution out of my podcasting journey. So just talking about race and racism, what it is and how it works, I just kind of became an expert, and I didn't realize I was an expert until people just started asking me the same question over and over again. Yeah. They wanted me to come to their job and speak or create content, and I'm just like, oh, I'm an expert on racism now.
I got to get paid for it now.
Yeah, and some people just kept asking me, so I was like, oh, let me start an LLC, because I had some firm. It was like with the library, like they wanted me to do some stuff, but I had to have be an official business. SEI wanted me to do some stuff, and so like a podcasting course too. So it was just like, all right, I got to get my LLC. So I started that, and then in the summer of 2020, when it really jumped off, with my podcast, I had an interview with Jane Elliott. I don't know if you guys heard her. She did the red eye blue eye experiment with the whatever. So she was kind of a big deal, and then that just kind of got a national audience attracted to me, and so I started doing virtual courses. And it was called Know Your Enemy: The Evolution of Racism. It was 8 weeks, 16 hours, starting from the 1400s to the present day. This is how we got here historically. This is why racism is what it is. This is how it works. And if you don't understand racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand is just going to confuse you because you don't know why this is happening. But when you know why, then you can readily adjust to it and counteract it.
So what are you consulting on though?
So presently, that was just like kind of the lead up. So presently, I have on-call racial equity contracts.
Okay.
Right. And so with Prosper Portland, Metro, and Northwest Regional Education Service District. And so with those organizations, it's just like your basic DEI workshops. Okay. So it's DEI, some conflict management, right? Okay. So it's what you would expect from DEI as far as like if you know what DEI is, and that's what I'm doing. But mine is more focused on racial equity. Yeah. And really coming from a black lens, black perspective. Yeah. Amplifying our problems and what we're going through to be able to help us in the workplace.
Yeah, I mean DEI is a hot subject right now. That's probably something that we'd need more time to talk about. But it's been all over the news now. Yeah. So when you go in these organizations, are you working with the team and kind of teaching them how they may be displaying racism, but maybe they're not aware of it, or is that kind of like what you're doing?
Yeah, okay. Definitely. Like one workshop, one of my most prominent workshops right now is called the Impeccable Ally Workshop. Okay. And so that one is directed towards white people. Okay. Telling them like, all right, you call yourself an ally. 'Cause after 2020, everybody want to be an ally. Yeah. But a lot of it is virtue signaling. A lot of it is transactional. A lot of it is #ally on your LinkedIn profile. But what are you actually doing? Yeah. Are you an ally because it's self-proclaimed, or are you an ally because a person of color has called you an ally? Okay. And so it kind of parses out, all right, either you are or you aren't. But even if you say you are and you're doing the work, there are some blind spots that you have. I'm sure of it because you grew up in America. Yeah. So if you grew up in America, you're going to do some racist type stuff because we're a racist country. Not to say that you are racist, but you're going to do some racist type stuff, right? Or say some things that are kind of off-putting. And the allyship that you wish to have, you're not going to be as effective in it unless you realize what you're doing and stop doing it and start doing this. Okay. And so it's kind of a 3-step process that I work people through of this is what allyship really looks like. I talk about like the basics of bias and human nature and how we all have bias as humans, but there's now what we're dealing with is human nature of bias and how it works, and also the racial aspect, the racial element. Okay. And then also the fear of people not like saying the wrong thing. So when you fear saying the wrong thing, you're not being genuine. When you're not being genuine, you're kind of operating off of stereotypes or just what you think the other person thinks about you, as opposed to just interacting with them directly. And so you're thinking about the other person through the lens of something that is probably racist. Okay. Because that's all you know about that race. And so I tell them what they've been doing. And I don't know none of these people, but it's like the 10 moves of white progressives. Yeah. And it's like 10 phrases or 10 things that they commonly do. Yeah. And that like, oof, it sucks the air out the room. But it's real and it's true, and everybody appreciates it. So it's a really impactful workshop. You know,
so when you go to like places in the South and stuff, sometimes like racism out there seems blatant, like you can tell, right? Yeah. Portland, sometimes racism exists, but it's not as blatant, you know? There's like little microaggressions and stuff like that here, so sometimes it could be a little difficult. So when you're going in there, do you ever have, like, how are you being received by the people you're kind of walking through your program?
It's mostly respect because because people, they elect to show up. I don't do any like, I rarely do mandatory DEI stuff. Okay. I don't like that because if you don't want to be there, I don't want to be there. Yeah. You don't want to talk to me or you don't want to hear me talk, I don't want to. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a waste of my time and my energy. You know? And so all the people that show up to these workshops, like you elect to show up. And so it's mostly received well. There is going to be like the natural pushback and the cognitive dissonance that happens. Like, wait, I don't think, and it's like, I just kind of preface it like, you're not a bad person for being a human and being not being flawless. Like, it's okay. Yeah. Right. And so if you're doing this, and this, I'm going to throw out a myriad of scenarios and phrases and things that people say and do. You may not have done 8 of these things, but you may have done 2 of these things. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of tools to use. And if the shoe fits, wear it and utilize the tool that's going to help you out. But I'm not there to like tell people how bad they are or they need to check their privilege or like, yeah, you can, that's cool. But here's some tools. If you want to get better and you really want to be an ally, this is what you can do. And if you don't like it, then don't call yourself an ally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember always in that corporate world, we never really had anybody come in or anything like that, but we'd always have like online mandatory training that we had to do where you recognize what racism is. Are you being racist towards somebody or all that stuff? So we never really had anybody come in, but I wish we had people that actually came in and kind of walked us through that. It would have been a little bit more helpful. So you got any other questions you want to throw in there, Jurell? Or?
Yeah, I did have one last question. Circling back to some of the stuff that like you do with Black United Fund. I know there's like so many like citywide regulations and conversations happening about what to do with small businesses and stuff like that. So I wanted to just pick your brain about what do you think are some of the most urgent steps that the city needs to take to support entrepreneurs, in particular BIPOC entrepreneurs?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah.
What are some urgent steps that they need to take? Oh, man. I mean, to be honest, man, the easiest step, and I'm going to make it more specific. I'm going to say Black, because BIPOC is so broad.
Yeah.
Because there's certain groups in that BIPOC jambalaya that's getting a whole lot of money and a whole lot of support. Like, I mean, it's certain programs. I was literally talking to somebody yesterday. Like, it's certain programs where, and I can't speak to exactly what the program is, but it was like she was telling me they were going to bring in Black students and they were going to support them and they were going to give them $1,500 for their time. And as they advanced through this thing, and then they brought in a group of Hispanic students or Hispanic applicants or whatever, and similar program, and each one of them are getting $20,000. Wow! So it's like, and she was like, I don't understand. There's no rhyme or reason. She's just a consultant. Like, she doesn't work for anybody. She just works whatever comes to her. She helps people walk through it. And so she's like, I didn't know that this was happening. And she's like, this is happening all around the city. So I say all that to say,
these are under 18-year-old students, or is it college?
Don't quote me on it. Okay. I want to say it was college. Okay. It was like a certain medical program. Okay. Right. And so, so I say all that to say, when it comes to Black entrepreneurs, what do we need? And or Black people, what do we need? We need reparations. That is the easiest fix. I mean, there's all of these programs, all these nonprofit, all these initiatives, and we're trying to help with this. We're trying to help with that. We're trying to close. Everybody talking about closing the wealth gap and helping people out. All right, cut the check. Yeah, just cut the check. You want to help out Black people. You want to help out. You want to close the wealth gap. You want to help marginalized community. Give money.
Yeah, see, when I was younger and people used to talk about reparations, I used to be like, man, where the hell is the money going to come from? But then now I start seeing like all this stuff going on with like Ukraine, Israel, and all these billions that we send. I'm like, man, we might as well just start printing it up too, man. You know what I mean? So
oh my God.
I know the money's there.
It's always been there. It's always been there. It will always be there. It will just be politicians whose job it is to tell you that they can't do it.
Because they putting it somewhere else. They put all the money in the military.
they have corporate interests and they have lobbyists, and so they're on other people's payroll, so they have to serve those interests. But if you want to eliminate racism, and you definitely want to eliminate the wealth gap or work towards it or take a good swing at it, reparations, man. Give everybody $250,000 tomorrow and see how things will change.
I know they're talking about it in California.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are in the process, but it looked like it was making some headway. Yeah. So
they talked about it here at one point too.
They did during 2020. Sure.
Yeah.
Luke Frederick had a bill, and it was going to be like, it was like a annuity, like $120,000 a year or something like that for those that can trace their lineage back to slavery or something like that. You know, and so
that'd be interesting to see how that process is going to go. You know, like what do they have you turn in a DNA test or something like that, or record keeping, or like how's that going to go? You know what I mean? Right. So that's another part of that. I would love to see how that goes. So on a more personal note, how do you feel kind of like the work that you're doing now? How do you feel like it's affected you personally and professionally?
Personally, it's just my life is better. I'm just in a better mood. I have a much more optimistic outlook on the world.
Okay.
Because I'm able to see that my thoughts and ideas can get implemented. Like I've already seen it a little bit just by what podcasting did for me. And now that I'm doing this work in particular, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have my finger on the pulse of Black Portland as far as our entrepreneurs are concerned.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I know a lot of y'all, like everybody who's doing something, I know who they are and I know what they need. And so it's like, it's so fun to be able to know that I can have my finger on the pulse and add constructive value to the process of getting us to where we need to go. So that's been amazing personally, and it's just it just invigorates a lot of what I do. Like I said, I'm excited to wake up in the morning and tackle the day.
I want to ask a follow-up question to that. Does your family, your wife and kids, do they see that difference in you from like when you're working in sales versus like now?
Definitely. I mean, at least for sure, my wife, because I was miserable.
Man,
I was absolutely miserable. Like I would get up, leave the house at like 6:30. My job was out in Hillsboro, right? And so as Portland grew, my commute got longer and longer.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so
you got stuck on that 26, huh?
Bro,
yeah,
26, man. And so, I would leave at 6:30 and I wouldn't get back until like 7.
Yeah,
I would do it again, and I would work like typically like 6 days a week.
And then see, you only have like 2 hours with your kids,
if that.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're getting ready to go to bed.
In an hour, that
8 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Car.
Yeah,
I'm commuting, picking them up from daycare, picking them up from school.
Yeah,
and then we get home, we eat and take a bath and go to bed. Like
that's it, man. You don't get to build that with them, and then you got Saturday, Sunday, and then Sunday you're just dreading going to work the next day. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I hated it, man. So yeah, that was rough.
Same here, man. Yeah. So is there anything you want to, because one of our biggest things is here is try to get as much information as we can out to the to our community. So is there anything you want to plug in regards to anything that's coming up with Black United Fund or anything that you have coming up?
Yeah, man. Our Emerging Entrepreneur Community Celebration is June the 6th.
Okay.
At Brick Studio, 6 to 8 p.m. So that is open to the community. So I would encourage everyone to come out. Definitely invite you guys to come out and check out what our 5 entrepreneurs have been up to over the past 9 months, and so they can, you can hear from their own testimony or their growth and what they've learned.
Okay.
So there's that, and then we're gonna have our last Thursday happens, we're gonna open up our lot. And we're gonna have like live music and entertainment, and we might have some vendors back there too, some food and whatnot. So come check us out on the last Thursdays of June, July, and August for sure.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Jurell, unless you got anything else to say, I think we're all set here. Emmanuel Williams, Black United Fund. Thank you for joining us on the PDX Black Rose. I'm your host, Alexander Gebreab, and my co-host Jurell here. Thank you.
God bless. workshops right now. It's called the Impeccable Ally Workshop.
Okay.
And so that one is directed towards white people.
Okay.
Telling them like, all right, you call yourself an ally. Because after 2020, everybody want to be an ally.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is virtue signaling. A lot of it is transactional. A lot of it is #ally on your LinkedIn profile. But what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
Are you an ally because it's self-proclaimed, or are you an ally because a person of color has called you an ally?
Okay.
And so it kind of parses out, all right, either you are or you aren't. But even if you say you are and you're doing the work, there are some blind spots that you have. I'm sure of it because you grew up in America.
Yeah.
So if you grew up in America, you're going to do some racist type stuff because we're a racist country. Not to say that you are racist, but you're going to do some racist type stuff, right?